thing happens in a relationship. When I look at what you do to me, I'm looking at what you do to me through my lens and not what you're truly doing to me, right? Or asking you the questions of why did you do X, right? This is how I felt. What happened here? I'm making assumptions, right? And my assumptions are built on my past experiences and also my traumatic experiences, whether in life with people I've been in relationships with or familiar ones, right? And a combination of the both, right? So I think that is exactly what we saw here, because he wanted very specific things from Kirsten. And when she didn't do those very specific things, in his mind, that's rejection. In his mind, I'm not getting what I need. Versus you can ask someone for something, but you also have to leave room for that person to show up as who they are, right? And a lot of these things don't happen in a shortened process. And I think they both wanted, like she kept saying, let's just see where it goes, because I think we have the foundation of something. And he was like, well, I need it to happen before I can make a final decision. Like, I want to see all the evidence of everything up front, because I've been hurt. I haven't been cared for the way that I feel like I need to be cared for. So I need to know before I jump out on this ledge that you're going to give me everything I need. But is that realistic? And do people show up that way? And is that realistic for Kirsten to show up that way for him? Right. So I think those were the questions that he really should have been delving into. Is like, am I being realistic? Are the things that she is giving me? Because then you hear, like, she was like, I was cooking for you, I was catering to you, I was doing these things for you, but it wasn't enough. And I think he was looking for very specific things that came from triggers from his past to be markers of, oh, this is what it means she wants me. But he forgot that it's Kirsten, and it's not Shaq loving Shaq. It's Kirsten loving Shaq. And that's where you have to leave room for people in a relationship to kind of show up as themselves. Because if you keep telling them everything you want them to do, and every time they don't meet that marker, you hold it against them, then you really don't want the person. You just want yourself. And I think that's an element of selfishness. Also, you haven't dealt with yourself, because if you really want a partner, you have to be open to what they bring to the relationship, right? You have to be open to how they present to you, how they love you, what they can show you that's different. But if you're always looking for it to be your way, then you're going to be struggling. You're going to always be struggling in a relationship.
And I think that's the reason why, like, clear-cut communication is so important. And it's something that is developed over time and developed over experience and developed as you learn relationships. Because what you described there is such a powerful thing. But it can only be powerful if you actually understand the language that's being spoken, right? So, like, I'm thinking on practical kind of conversation, how that's going to play out, which is, hey, look, I know you care about me, but I feel like the ways that you're showing me care, I don't understand if that's actually genuine care. I'm not interpreting what you're doing as genuine care. And so it just gives that person a bit more room. I think that's a real conversation. Like, hey, like, so when you do that, what does that mean for you? Because for me, it's not registering the way that I want it to register. But when you're doing it, what does it entail for you? So that I can give you chance, like you said, give you a bit of chance to be able to say, well, when I decide to cook for you, that's me saying, like, I really care about you. I'm missing you. I'm loving you. Because again, I can only translate the language that I understand. I can't translate another language I've never understood. French sounds beautiful, but if I don't understand French, you can say whatever you want to say, and I'm not going to understand what's being said. And I think what you're touching upon, bro, is so powerful, because that's essentially what's happening sometimes in a relationship. When people talk about love languages, that's one aspect. But in terms of how do I interpret what you're doing right now, and what does it actually mean? So that I can give it its meaning for me, so that the currency that you would translate what you're talking to me as, I can actually use it now. Because I can't use currency of French in England. I can't use euro. I mean, technically, you can use euros in England, but you know what I mean? Before they became euros, you could use francs, whatever, right? Can't use that in.
But it has to be converted.
That's the point.
It has to be converted. And if the conversion ratio is off, it's going to be a miss, right? So if the person is not accepting, if I go to your restaurant, right, and I think that's such a valid point, and I want to pay in pounds, but your restaurant only accepts euros and dollars, then you're going to say, sir, go someplace else. But if I miss on the fact that we can convert, cash currency can be converted, right? We may lose a little bit here. We may not get 100%, but we can still work together. We can still build a relationship. And I think that's where they missed each other, because they were giving each other things in their way that wasn't measuring up and meeting. And it wasn't until it was too late that they were like, hey, there was real feelings here. We really could have had something.
It's interesting as well, because I think it's an education that it's needed. It's an education that's needed, right? But if you don't have it, it's such a difficult thing to navigate relationships when you don't have the education of, let me take my time and try to understand what it means for you. You know what I mean? Because you're so caught up on yourself and how you feel and justifying how you feel that you generally do feel pain, and it's real. But then in order to solve the problem, oftentimes you've got to give way to be able to receive what you actually need. And that can be very difficult, because when you're in pain, you're only thinking about you. You're thinking, if you soothe me, then I'm done. But the reality of the situation is, someone's got to give in some shape or form. Someone's got to give. But that educational piece is such a hard thing, because we are selfish human beings at the end of the day, and we want what we want. But you're right. I think if there's been some moments where I can look at Shaq and be like, okay, I get it. You didn't get the vulnerability necessarily 100% that you wanted. How best could we have worked together to be able to soothe you first, so that maybe I can receive what I need to do? And someone might look at it as being manipulative, but I think generally it's a way of working as a partnership. I'm going to work on you first. I'm going to try and soothe you to get you to a place where you're comfortable, because then when you're comfortable, I can then hopefully receive what I need from you. But all the while, I'm going to make it very clear that, hey, look, you know what? I also do need this from you, but I'm also understanding. I'm willing to be patient. Let's work on what we can work to make sure that you're secure and that you're good, and that you know that I'm here for you. I'm going to serve you for this bit in part right now and make sure you're good. And we're talking about marriages, by the way, guys. And I would talk about probably healthy relationships. Some of you, please don't be using this method in your boyfriend and girlfriend who is trash, and you know them to be trash. This is going to make you get hurt. You trying to understand and trying to do sacrifice. You know what I mean? Go for it, Shawn, and I'll bring on Phil after.
Yeah, I think the part you just touched on, and this is the part that I think Shaq missed rather. It is, as much as you should be getting and receiving in a relationship, you also need to be pouring out, right?
Yes.
And I think that was the challenge. That's why I came for him so hard, because I get that there was very specific things that he wanted from Kirsten in the relationship, right? From her. But very often I did not hear him giving back out to her, right? You never really saw him saying, like, what do I need from you? Like, what can I give to you? And making efforts to do that, right? Like, she would pour, she made that stupid comment about the house. He internalized it and then shut down. And then all we talked about was Kirsten showing up for his work events and all the things that he needed from her, right? We spent so much time on that, but I just never really saw how much he was able to give to her. And I think his fear of intimacy and his whatever pressure and whatever he was really dealing with, whatever his wounds are, kept him from just being able to do that. It became about, well, I need to be the one that sees what you can do for me, because he knows himself. And I think this happens in relationship, and I'll land my plane here. It's like, we know us, right? Like, I know me, I know Shawn. So when I show up in a relationship, I'm looking at that woman and I'm waiting for you to show up for me, but I can get lost in knowing me, but she don't know me, right? She can't see what I have to offer until I am vulnerable enough to show her. And then that becomes that symbiotic part of that relationship where it's a give and a take. But if I am saying is, I know I'm a good guy, I know I don't cheat, I know what I bring to the table, I'm hardworking, I care, I have stability, right? but I know my internal qualities, but I'm not showing that to her. And then I'm also not asking her, hey, listen, I want this from you, but I'm as a leader, right? You know, as the Christ example, we want to get Christ. Christ was a servant leader.